let's get started. Daniel chapter 7, we're going to start in verse 1. Uh, Actually, let me get rid of this. Here we go. So, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. If everyone wouldn't mind just going on mute if you're not talking, I hear some background noise. Thank you. Okay. Verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. So here we see Daniel. He's he's in at the time of this vision that he's writing about. Belshazzar is ruling in Babylon. It's the first year of his reign, and he's having a dream and a vision while he's in his bed. And so, what we're about to read, he's writing down the dream and then he's telling us what happened. And so, the first thing he saw in his vision by night four winds of the heaven, and they strove upon the great sea. So strove mean in this word here, it means to like bring forth. So the winds are are blowing over the sea. And verse 3, and the four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. So he sees this sea, right? All this water, and out of the water is now coming forth these four great beasts. But we know that the sea represents not just water, but Revelation 7:15, we know that it's peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we went through about 4 or 5 different examples of where we see the waters being the nations and the peoples and the languages and whatnot. So these great beasts, this word beast, it just simply means animals. Uh, that's what the word means, but we're going to see later that it's symbolic for something. Um, these four great beasts, they're coming out from the peoples, they're coming out from the nations, and they're the key word here is they are great. So they stand above everyone else or all of the other nations that are amongst the sea. These four beasts, they're coming out of it. It also says that they are diverse one from another. So that means these four beasts, they're different. They're not all the same entity. They're different creatures and they have different attributes. They have different characteristics. Okay. Now, if we go to second Esdras, actually before I go to second Esdras, some of you may not know this, so I'm going to share it real quick. Uh, S- Second Esdras is a part of the Apocrypha. So the Apocrypha, many people ignore it, but I'm going to show you why I think we shouldn't ignore the Apocrypha. So it says, this is the King James Bible Online.org. It says the Apocrypha is a selection of books which were published in the original 1611 King James Bible. So King James, first one, it had all of these books in this book that we're about to read. It says these apocryphal books were positioned between the Old and New Testament. It also contained maps and genealogies. The Apocrypha was a part of the KJV for 274 years until being removed in 1885 AD. So this was a shock to me when I first saw this because I always thought, Oh, those apocryphal books, they were moved out of the Bible a long time ago. Uh, it wasn't until 1885. That's fairly recent history. So, it says a portion of these books were called deuterocanonical books by some entities, such as the Catholic Church. So, these books have been around for a long time, and it's not until 1885 that they were taken out of the King James Bible. So, here under here you can see some of the books that were a part of this. Esdras is is a is another way of saying Ezra. So these are two additional books of Ezra. So let's read Second Esdras chapter 11:39 because it says something very similar to what we just read in Daniel 7:3. So Second Esdras 11:39 says, art not thou it that remains of the four beasts whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them. And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. So there were four beasts. Second Ezra said, just like we see in Daniel, but uh, in Second Esdras, he's saying that these four beasts are made to reign in the world. So that means they're ruling in the world, that the end of their times might come through them. As he's asking the question, he says, and the fourth came. So the fourth beast came, which is who we're going to focus on tonight. And when that fourth beast came, he overcame all the beasts that were past. So all the past beasts, this fourth beast, he had power over all of those. So this is a powerful beast. He had power over the world. So this beast is ruling the entire world. He has power over it with great fearfulness. So these other nations, all the that sea from which this beast came from, those nations, those multitudes, those peoples, they're fearful of this fourth beast. They're very fearful. And over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. That's another key point. This fourth beast has much wicked oppression. He's going to oppress the people more than the people have been oppressed before in such wickedness like the earth hasn't seen. And it says, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. So now this fourth beast is going to be dwelling for a long time. And as he's dwelling, as he's living on the earth, he's deceiving. He's deceiving the nations. The nations are being deceived, and he's oppressing, much oppression. He's got power over the world, and he's overcome all of the other beasts of the past. Also, the nations, they're fearful of him. So this is just some of the attributes of this beast, and this is important to note these things, jot these down, because if you're trying to understand who the beasts are, then this fourth beast, if we want to know who this fourth beast is, we got to understand what attributes are associated with him. And I put down this definition of great power because as soon as I saw that this beast has power over the world, what came to my mind was a great power. And this is from Encyclopedia Britannica. It says a great power is a sovereign state with significant diplomatic, economic, and military strength to exert power in international affairs. So that's a modern term that we would use today. It seems like this beast fits this description as being a great power, but this great power has more power than all of the other beasts that came before it. And and well, let me I'll talk about that later. Let's keep going. And by the way, please stop me if you have comments or questions. So, who's in power at the end of the world? So, this fourth beast, remember, there's four of them. And so the fourth one's the last one. And so I'm asking the question, who is in power at the end of the world? Because whoever's in power at the end of the world should be related to this fourth beast. So Second Esdras is why I love Second Esdras so much. It gives so much details. Second Esdras 6 verse 7, it says, "Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth?" So what that means is uh he's asking a question. He's saying, what's going to be uh what shall be the basically when we're leaving the current times that we're in, the end of times. He says, what's going to be that, or when is going to be the end of the first? The first meaning like the first time, and the beginning of it that followeth after. The beginning of it that followeth is saying that which comes after. So it's like you have the world we're in now and the world that's gonna be. Verse 8, it says, "And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau." So we mostly most of us should remember, when Jacob and Esau came out, Jacob, Jacob, he was grabbing on Esau's heel. And that's the reason he's called Jacob, because Jacob, it means heel. So verse 9, it says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." So according to Second Esdras, Esau is Edom, is going to be ruling in the end of the world. Remember the first question he asked, he says that what is the end of the first? So the end of the world as we know it today, Esau is going to be ruling. And Jacob, or Jacob, who was whose name was changed later to Israel, is the beginning of it that followeth. Praise Yah for that. I can't wait to be a part of that time when Jacob is ruling, when Israel is ruling. So this, according to Daniel, we got this fourth beast. We see these attributes. Um, Daniel sees these four beasts, and as Second Esdras 11, we see these four beasts. The fourth beast, I should say, has power over the world. He's ruling with deceit, and he's causing great fear. And now we see at the end of the world, there's going to be a power that's going to be ruling. That power is called Esau. Esau is going to be ruling. But Jacob, he's coming next. Jacob's coming next. Uh, by the way, this is a good chapter to read if you have not read Second Ezra chapter 6. Um, In fact, I'm going to do it. Let's just read it. Let's read some of it. I always like think, oh, I'm not going to have enough material. I didn't have time to study. And then I'm always wrong about that. So let's go to Second Ezra chapter 6. It says, "And he said unto me, in the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew." So this is talking about, this is Genesis 1, verse 1, in the beginning. Remember, it wasn't until verse 2 that the winds blew. You see the spirit of Yah hovering over the waters. Before it thundered and lightened, or even the foundations of paradise were laid, that reminds me of Eden. Before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys in Zion were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed that have gathered faith for a treasure. I hope that's you that have gathered faith as a treasure. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. So the Most High is saying, uh, I considered these things. They were all made through me alone. Nobody else helped me with this. And by me, all of these things are going to be ended. Nobody else is going to have control. So I don't care what organization, what group, what I don't care if it's some of these groups like the World Economic Forum. I don't care if it's some nation like China or Russia or the US or whoever it is. The Most High is saying nobody's going to end it. I am the one that's going to end it, and none other. Uh, yes, Tina.
Yeah, I just think that's so awesome because he is the one, you know? He created it. He's the one that's going to finish it. Just like he
Yes,
did us, you know, he's the author and finisher of our life. So when you come to that realization, it just makes you feel good. It just makes you
yes,
feel good. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. He's in control. That's why we don't have to worry. No matter what happens to us, what seems to be happening around us, he's in complete control. And so we can be thankful in everything. We can give thanks. Verse verse 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, Esdras, asked thou not? I answered then and said, O master that bearest rule, if I have found favor in thy sight, I beseech thee, show thy servant the end of thy tokens, or like the end of thy signs, is another way you could say that, whereof thou showest me part the last night. So, so he's asking, you show me some of the signs of the end, just like you showed me the other night. Verse 13. So he answered and said unto me, stand up upon thy feet and hear a mighty sounding voice, and it shall be as it were a great motion, but the place where thou standest shall not be moved. And therefore, when it speaketh, be not afraid, for the word is of the end, and the foundation of the earth is understood. Um, I think I want to stop right here, but this is a good chapter to read because it'll give you an even more detailed understanding of what we're about to read in Daniel and in Revelation. It just gives a lot more clarity. So let's go back to the slides. So Esau's the end. We know the fourth beast is going to be ruling towards the end, and Esau's going to be ruling at the end. So now we're going back to Daniel, where we first started, Daniel 7. Now we're in verse 4. It says, the first was like a lion, talking about the first beast that came out the water, and had eagle's wings. And I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. So the first beast is a lion that has eagle's wings. Um, I'm gonna talk more about the wings a little bit later. It says, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So as we're reading this, remember in the beginning of the chapter, we saw that each beast was going to be diverse from the other. So we're reading about some of these characteristics of each one of these beasts, and these are some descriptions of the character of these beasts. And we're gonna get to what is the beast, what does the beast represent? What do these beasts represent coming down later in the scriptures? Verse 6, it says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl or a bird. The beast had also four heads, and dominion was given to it. So one thing I thought was interesting about these about these three beasts, two of them have wings, and I used to ask myself the question, I wonder why two of these uh, creatures have wings. Um, and I'm opening it up for if someone has a thought or opinion, or maybe has a scripture to back it up. But one thing that came to my mind is the amount of or sphere of influence of an empire. Because if you think about an animal that has wings, animal that has wings can go further distances. They can go, an eagle can travel extremely far, whereas a bear is pretty much going to be uh, confined to the land that he's in. They're going to only be able to migrate so far within a certain area, whereas these winged animals, they can have a greater sphere of influence. So if they can fly, they can go to other cities, other nations, and perhaps influence those nations. Go ahead, someone raise their hand.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
So what two things came to my mind with that is it's not just wings that I see, but also it's wings that are on the cats. And so what came to my mind was the statue um, with the head of gold going all the way down to the iron mixed with clay. I believe that's in Daniel 2. But either way, I'm
Yes.
thinking that they are kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, So that's what's coming to my mind. That's all.
You're right about that. They are kingdoms, and that's going to be further down the slides where Daniel is going to give us the interpretation of who these beasts are. But it's okay if you spoil it for everyone all quickly, I guess. But yes, they're kingdoms. Um, so anyway, just a thought I was having, especially after we see who these kingdoms represent. Um, Perhaps that will make some sense why some of these have wings, some of them don't. But despite all of that, each one of them are ferocious animals. The lion with eagle's wings, I would not want to run into one of those. So, the lion he's the king of the jungle. He's ferocious. The lion don't got too many predators. The lion pretty much does what it wants to do. But this lion has eagle's wings. And as you said, as Yirmiyahu said, uh, they do represent kingdoms. And so this kingdom is very fierce, very strong, and is going to have a very wide sphere of influence on the nations. These are all actually empires. And each one, um, they have these characteristics. Go ahead if someone raise their hand.
Hey, it's me again.
Okay.
So I did a study on um, the eagles and how they are attached to certain nations, and I'm not saying this is directly related to scripture, but what I was seeing when I was looking at eagles is they were definitely connected from the start, or their origins lie in Rome, Germany, and what it looked like to me would be what do you call it? You just had it up there, Esau or the Khazars.
Hmm. Yep, that's right. We might get to some of that. We'll see, but that's right. Um, in fact, in Second Esdras, the book we were just reading from the Apocrypha, um, we were reading in chapter 11. But I believe if you go later down in actually the next chapter, it talks about one of the beasts that's coming out, this fourth beast being an eagle as well. So, did someone else raise their hand?
Yes, just quick comment.
Hmm.
When I look at these three beasts, the lion, I think of strength and intellect. Uh, the bear also has strength, but to me, I mean, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but not as much intellect. Almost like if this were the Avengers, the bear would be the Hulk smash. He'd be the Hulk. Just he's going to listen to orders and smash and devour. And then with the leopard, what it does not have in strength, it makes up for in speed. So I'm thinking that those could be elements that are represented in those pictures.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's good. And I can see that for all of these different empires that are being represented. Thank you. Someone else have something?
Yeah, when I think of those animals, I think about the animals that represent different countries, whether it be on their flag or you know, like America is associated with the eagle, Russia's associated with the bear, Great Britain is associated with what was the other animal? The one with the wings. But I really think about that. Great Britain with the eagle's wings and the what was the other one with the eagle's wings?
There's a lion.
Yeah, the lion. Great Britain is represented by the lion. You know, you see these animals within these countries, flags or within their symbolism. And when I see that lion with the eagle's wings, it reminds me how closely connected America is with Great Britain. Matter of fact, America came out of Great Britain. The uh, the other cat, I'm still not sure what maybe what country or kingdom that might be, but that's what
Yeah.
I think about when I see those animals.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. We're gonna see because the scriptures are gonna actually help lead us to tell us which one of these uh beasts, which ones they represent. We're actually gonna read that. Anyone, someone else raise their hand?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, but I'm seeing one more thing. The lion, like what I'm piggybacking a little bit off of Miller, but the lion is fierce, right?
Hmm.
And it will get out in the open because it don't care. It's supposed to be strong, right? And then it's got eagle's wings, so it's fierce. It's in your face. Where the bear is a slower, but it's a slower creature. It's not as the lion's faster than the bear in speed wise, but the bear is still very strong and still very fierce. Whereas the leopard with the four heads and the four wings can be subtle, it can be stealthy and fast. And so, one of the things that's coming to my mind is, oh, you might not see the leopard because it's blending in. It's not going to just jump out in front of you. And so, it could have a power, but it's also secret and hidden.
Hmm.
So that's
Okay,
what I was thinking about.
that's that's a good observation. Yep. We're gonna look into this, but first, let's go to the fourth great beast, Daniel 7:7-8. After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with feet of it, with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So now we're getting to a fourth beast. This fourth beast, and at least in the book of Daniel, it's not described like as a particular animal, like a lion or a bear or a leopard or anything like that. It's just described as a dreadful and terrible and strong, exceedingly beast with iron teeth. So it's it's not described necessarily in the way you see in this picture. But I have this picture up for a reason, which we're going to see. So what we do see about it though, let's look at these attributes. Dreadful, terrible, exceedingly strong, great iron teeth. That iron is important, and it breaks into pieces, and it stamps with the residue with the feet. So that means anything that's left under his foot is going to be stomped. It's going to be broken into pieces, and it's diverse or different from all the beasts that were before it. So all the beasts that they're all different from each other, but this one is exceedingly diverse from those before it. Um, it's as you can see, it also has 10 horns. So we're going to see what those 10 horns represent in the scriptures coming later. It says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. So we know this, it's got 10 horns, but from amongst the midst of the 10 horns grows another little horn. So it's really, it starts off with 10 horns, but then 11 horns come. And that little horn, it says, is another little horn before whom were 3 of the first horns plucked up. So once that little horn came up, then 3 of the original 10 were removed. So now we're left with 8 horns. We had 10, then we had 11. Once the 11th horn came, then 3 of them removed. So 11 minus 3, that's 8. So in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man. So in this little horn that came up, now it's got eyes, meaning so it can see. Something about its sight and its vision is being emphasized. It's got eyes like a man. It's able to be able to see things, and a mouth that speaketh great things. Great things. So in Revelation 17, we see a beast as well. It says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman. Remember, this is the woman that's sitting on the beast, that harlot, that whore. I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads, and look at that, 10 horns. In Daniel, there's no mention of 7 heads, just 10 horns. But we do see the 10 horns, and this also meets the description of another character in Revelation 12:3. Let's look at Revelation 12:3. Actually, we'll start in verse 1. It says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven. So when you read this, remember it's saying everything that's being seen right now that John is about to explain is being seen in heaven or in the sky. It says a woman clothed with the sun, because where's the sun? The sun, you see it in the sky or in the firmament, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. So a great wonder is kind of like a sign, right? It's a sign that you can see when you look up. So, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. Now, and I'm sure most of you know this, but this isn't the first time you see this. A woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. We also see this in Genesis. I forget the chapter. Yeah, I'll just tell you, it's Joseph's dream. So if you remember, Joseph has a dream, and in Joseph's dream, he sees 11 stars, and he sees a sun, and he sees a moon, and they are all bowing down to him. The reason he sees 11 stars instead of like 12 is because he's the 12th star. So remember, his brothers and his family ended up having to come to him in Egypt and bow down to him. And so those 12 stars represented the 12 tribes of Israel. So verse 2, it says, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven or in the sky, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. So we're seeing the same thing, 7 heads, 10 horns, and it's a red dragon. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So this red beast or dragon, which has 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns on those heads, his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven, and he cast them to earth. Remember, we talked about stars and angels and whatnot. So the dragon stood before the woman, ready to be delivered to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man child who was to rule the nations with a rod of iron. Her child was caught up unto Elohim and to his throne. So this woman brought forth a man child. The man child that's ruling with a rod of iron, we know that's Yahusha. That's the son, the Messiah, who's going to rule all nations. It says her child was caught up unto Elohim and to his throne, and the woman fled into the wilderness, uh, where she hath a place prepared of Elohim, that they should feed her there 2,303 score days. That's 1,260 days. So um, I I want to skip to verse 9. It says, "And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." So this is it's interesting that these we're seeing this beast. There's a beast in Daniel 7 that has 10 horns. He's exceedingly dreadful and great. Um, and from him, from these 10 horns, there comes an 11th horn in the midst of it. And he's speaking great things. Revelation says um, this this scarlet colored beast, red colored beast, has names of blasphemy. So it's just very interesting that the devil, who's called the dragon or the serpent or Satan, has these 10 horns as well. I'm not drawing any conclusions yet though. We're just reading. Okay, now we're going to look at verse 9. The Ancient of Days is reigning. Daniel 7:9 says, "I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hairs of his head was like pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire." So now Daniel is having a vision of when all of the thrones are being destroyed, they're being ended. In the Ancient of Days, he's now ruling and he's reigning on the throne. So that's why you see this description of him. He's sitting down now, he's sitting on his throne. And when he sits on his throne, all of these others, they're going to be gone. Verse 10, it says, "A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were open. I beheld them because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld, even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a little season." So now if we go back, we see that there's 10,000s upon thousands that are standing upon the throne, and the books are being opened. When the books are being opened, that means judgment is being handed out. He says, uh, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake, he says, I beheld even till the beast was slain. Remember that little horn who's speaking great things or blasphemous things? He says he beheld till the beast was slain and his body was destroyed and given to the burning flame. So, as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a little season in time. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion, and him kabod or esteem, and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. Because, at this point, the woman, Mystery Babylon, she's sitting amongst the waters, which are nations and peoples and languages and multitudes. And people have given their dominion to this beast to whom the woman is sitting. But when the Most High uh, puts an end to all this, and the Son of Man returns in the clouds, the Father is going to give the Son dominion. See, if you notice in verse 13, it says, I saw in the night visions, behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days. It's the Son coming to the Father. They brought him near before him, and now the Father is handing over the dominion and the esteem and the honor and the splendor and the kingdom to the Son, so that all the nations of people and the languages should serve him, should serve the Son, Yahusha. His dominion is an everlasting dominion. So even though these nations or these beast systems are coming to an end, his dominion is not going nowhere, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. So even though all these other nations before, once the Most High gives the kingdom over to the Son, that thing's just going to keep lasting. It's not going to be stopped anymore, which is going to be wonderful because, you know, I look forward to when he returns. I look forward to living in that kingdom where it's just all about life and joy and peace. The schools now, we can send our kids to schools. I don't got to homeschool no more. I know that I can go out and walk in the streets. I don't have to worry about being in a bad neighborhood and somebody going to shoot me, or I don't have to worry about somebody robbing and stealing my stuff from me. I can't even leave a door unlocked on my car because someone might take everything. Even if I do lock it, they'll still break open the windows and take stuff. Like, we won't have to worry about that no more, because it's going to be lasting forever. It will not be destroyed. Hallelujah. So, who are the four great beasts? Daniel 7, verse 17. He tells us plainly, these great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth. So now we have some clarity. These beasts, remember the beasts we had a lion with wings of an eagle, a bear, and we had a leopard with wings, and we have this beast that's not named in Daniel as far as what it is, but we see this red dragon that's very similar in the book of Revelation, who's also a fourth beast. We see that's these beasts are four kings. So that means they have four kingdoms, perhaps even four uh, massive kingdoms, empires. Because remember, these kings, they're standing out above all the other nations. They're great. They have much power, much dominion. So it also says they're going to arise out of the earth. Now, Daniel 2:36. We're going to look at that. Aki Yahoo mentioned that earlier. Daniel chapter 2 is where we learn about the statue. the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, and Daniel interprets it. Now, we're reading this because it goes hand in hand with these beasts. So just like there were 4 beasts, there's also 4 parts of this image that Daniel dreamed in Daniel chapter 2. So I'll just read the first few verses and then I'll jump back down. So Daniel 2:1, it says, in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. See, in the dream we were just reading about in Daniel 7, that's Belshazzar. So you see, Daniel, he lived through, multiple kings of Babylon. So when Nebuchadnezzar was in power, he was reigning during the peak of Babylon's power, of their empire. He was there at the peak. So in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams wherewith his spirit was troubled and his sleep brake from him. So this is when the king, he commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers, the sorcerers, the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dream. So they came and stood before the king. We know the story. They weren't able to give the interpretation. The king's like, I'm gonna kill all of y'all. Y'all no good for nothing. And so Daniel actually saves their skins, because Daniel lets them know, I can just give me some time and I'll give you the interpretation of the dream. And here, when we get to verse 36, Daniel's going to give the interpretation of this image that Nebuchadnezzar saw, made of gold, silver, bronze, and iron. And then at the bottom, the toes are iron mixed with clay. So that's what we're about to read. Verse 36. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings. For Elohim of the Shamayim, Elohim of heaven, have given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and esteem. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beast of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given unto thine hand, and hath made thee a ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. So just like we have a first beast that's a lion with eagle's wings, we have the head of gold being represented by Babylon. Verse 39, it says, and after thee shall arise another king inferior to thee, and another 3rd kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. So the first kingdom, the 2nd kingdom is inferior to Babylon. It's not like the head of gold. It's inferior. And that's the Medo-Persian Empire. And then the 3rd kingdom is the kingdom of Greece. It says the 3rd kingdom, which is of brass, is going to bear rule over all the earth. Remember how I said I noticed the wings on the lion. This 1st kingdom, which is Babylon, is ruling over, he's a king of kings. That's what Nebuchadnezzar is called. He's a king. He's a king of kings, and he's given him a kingdom of power and strength. And he says, wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls in the heaven hath he given into your hand. He's saying he hath made you ruler over all of them. Wherever men are at, you're ruling that area. And then we see with the 3rd kingdom of brass, it says he's going to bear rule over all the earth. The 2nd kingdom is just saying he's a kingdom that's inferior. So I didn't even realize that to just now, but that's one of the reasons why I think you see the lion has the wings. He's able to have more of an influence, and also the leopard. Rome is verse 40. It says, and the 4th kingdom, just like Yirmiyahu was saying, shall be strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. So these empires, this is the order in which they ruled. Babylon, when Daniel was still alive, Babylon was in control. Then the Medo-Persians, they conquered Babylon. Then Greece conquered the Persians. Then Rome comes on and conquers Greece, and we see Rome in rule at the time of the Messiah. So this fourth kingdom is strong as iron. This is why I said, notice when we looked at this fourth beast. Let me bring this back up. The fourth beast, we see that it has iron teeth in verse 7. Iron teeth. So he's strong as iron. Iron is very, very incredibly strong metal. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. So this fourth kingdom, just like that fourth beast, is exceedingly strong, exceedingly powerful. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. So this in in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, um the iron, you had iron on the legs, but the toes, which there's 10 toes. Remember, because we all got 10 toes, unless we got a leg cut off or something like that. We all got 10 toes. So remember, there was also 10 horns. So just interesting how these things seem to correlate with each other. But he says, thou sawest the feet and toes, which there would be 10, part of potter's clay, part of iron. So the toes in the part clay, part iron, they don't mix well. So it has the strength of iron, but it doesn't mix well with the clay. So verse 42 says, the toes of feet were part iron, part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. So these 10 toes, they come last. They come last. And so towards the end. And when you see these 10 toes, they're going to have some strength, but iron and clay, they don't join together well. They don't mix together well. They're two completely different elements. So they're not going to be as unified. They'll have some strength, but they're not completely together. They can't mix. It says in verse 43, and whereas thou sawest iron mix with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So these toes, these toes are going to try to mix, but they're not going to cleave. Adam and Hava, they cleaved with each other. Man's supposed to leave his wife and cleave. We're supposed to cleave one to another and join and become one flesh. Well, this is not going to be possible. It says they mingle, they meaning this kingdom, this fourth kingdom, is mingling with the seed of men, which means it must not be the seed of men. You see that distinction? They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, mix, but they shall not cleave. Why? Because they must not be the same, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So I'm going to read these last two verses. In the days of these kings shall Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall be break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, the gold, the great Elohim have made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof is sure. So the Most High, just as we read earlier, he's going to come, and his kingdom is not going to ever be destroyed, and no one is going to be able to rule after that, no other kingdom. And his kingdom, just as those wicked kingdoms were in rule and breaking into pieces, well, his kingdom is going to break this fourth kingdom and all the others. All of them are going to be consumed. They're going to all be broken into pieces. So remember when we were reading, I believe it was in the book of Jeremiah, Babylon is called O Destroying Mountain. Well, this Babylon has nothing on Yah's kingdom. Someone raise their hand. Okay. Okay. Someone put something in the chat. Yep. It does sound like that. Okay. Let's go back. How are we doing on time? Okay. I'll just go a few more. We won't be able to finish, but I'll just go just a couple more slides. So, now we're back at, okay, we went through Daniel 2. We see these four great beasts. And now we're going to continue on Daniel 7, verse 18. It says, but the saints of the Most High, or the Kodoshim, shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and forever and ever. See, it sounds just like Daniel 2. Just like Daniel 2. We were talking about his dream, Nebuchadnezzar's dream, with this image made of all these different metals. And now we're talking about beast, but we see the same outcome happening towards the end. Verse 19, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others. This fourth beast, he's quite a bit different from the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass, which devoured, break in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. One thing I love about the Most High is that he is just. So Mystery Babylon, this fourth beast, they're going to all receive what's due to them. Just as they broke into pieces, Yah's going to break them into pieces. So verse 20 says, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell. Remember, there was 10 horns, and then an 11th horn came, and then 3 of them fell off. He says, even of that horn that had the eyes, which is that little horn that came up, and a mouth that spoke very great things, and whose look was more stout than his fellows, meaning his appearance, more stout than his fellows. So when we looked at Daniel 2:41, what we saw is that I'm sorry, that's the wrong, I got the wrong reference there. Oh, I have to fix that later. Verse 21, it says, and I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. So verse 21, now this beast is going to make war, and he's going to be able to prevail. Revelation 13, we see that this beast talked about here is given power. It says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. I'm seeing a common theme, whether it's in Esdras or Revelation or Daniel, or even the book of Jeremiah, Isaiah, we're seeing these entities that are coming up out of the sea. So Revelation 13:1, I stood upon the sand of the sea, saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having said 7 heads, 10 horns, upon his horns 10 crowns, upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Sounds just like the description we read in Revelation 12 of Satan. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. So that fourth, remember what we just read about that horn that came up from the fourth beast. He's speaking very great things. Now this beast in Revelation is speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. 42 months. So this fourth beast is going to I should say these 10 horns on the fourth beast, and then this little horn that comes out of from amongst those 10 horns. That's that little horn. He's going to be able to have a mouth to speak these blasphemous things, and he's going to have power 42 months, which is significant because we know 42 months is also talked about in Revelation 12:14, 7:25, Revelation 11:1-3, which is the time that the Antichrist, he's also going to have time to rule and reign, 42 months. So this beast, power is given to him. And we're going to look at these scriptures maybe later. I don't know if we'll get to them today, these other references. Verse 6, it says, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Elohim, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. So just like we read in Daniel, this beast, this fourth beast, I'm sorry, the horn that was on the fourth beast, the horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. Here we see the same thing. We see in Revelation that this beast, which also has 10 horns, he's able to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And like it says, at the end, power was given him over all kindreds, all tongues, and nations. So Daniel 7:22. Now we're back to Daniel. Until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came when it came that the saints possessed the kingdom. So those 42 months, that's the time that these 10 toes are going to be able to rule. These 10 toes that we read about in the book of Daniel. Also, it's the time that these 10 horns, along with the little horn, that is going to be ruling. They're going to be 42 months, and they're going to be able to rule at the end of that 42 months, must be when the Ancient of Days comes and judgment is given to the Kadoshim, or the holy ones of the Most High. And the time came that the Kadoshim possessed the kingdom. So this rulership is going to happen until the Most High returns and we rule. Verse 23, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break in pieces. Break in pieces. So just like the iron in Daniel chapter 2, just like that kingdom that was Rome, that came after Greece, And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. So what we see here is now an explanation of these 10 horns. These 10 horns that are on the beast that has 7 heads. These 10 horns are 10 kings. So these 10 kingdoms are going to arise. They have not yet arisen. They're going to arise. And after these 10 kingdoms arise, which are the 10 horns, we'll see one more king arise from amongst them. And he's going to subdue 3 of the kings. So these 10 kings, remember, these 10 toes are unified. Remember, they're miry clay and iron. So they have strength, but they don't mix well. They don't cleave. So this king that's coming out from amongst them, he's going to be able to subdue. Eventually, all the 10 kings are going to give all their power to this king that's to come. Now, verse 25 of Daniel 7, it says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given unto his hand until a time and times and a dividing of a time. So here we see another way of writing the 42 months that we read about earlier. So times, and dividing of a time. Revelation 13:5, it says it this way, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. 42 months. Revelation 12:14, it says, and to the woman, remember we were reading this earlier as well, this chapter, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle. Remember, the woman is Israel. Wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. So that time, half a time is just like verse 25, where it's a time and times and dividing of a time. Also, Revelation 11:3, and I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. So this, when these 2 witnesses are prophesying, they are, all of this is happening all at the same time, because 1,260 days is 3.5 years, and 42 months is 3.5 years, and a time is a year, a times is 2 years, and the dividing of a time is half a year, which is 3.5 years. So this 4th beast, which has the horns on it, the 10 horns with a little horn that eventually comes, when that little horn is ruling, when he's given power to rule, all of these events are happening. The 2 witnesses are prophesying for 1,260 days, and the woman is flying into the wilderness during this time, where she's nourished, she's protected during this time. Why is she not going through what everyone else is going through? Because she fled Babylon. She left Babylon. Remember, in Revelation, Yahusha says, come out from among them and be ye separate. He doesn't want us to be partaker of Babylon's plagues. And so if Israel is obedient, Israel will be this woman that's in the wilderness, that's protected for these 3.5 years, while this beast is making havoc all over the world. So, see what time is it? 9:09. So I'll end with this slide. So on verse 25, he says that this is what this little horn is going to do. He's going to speak great words. We know blasphemous words. He's going to wear out the saints. He's going to think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand. So so um yeah, I'm not going to go any further. I'm gonna stop right there. I'll just stop right here because it's already 9 o'clock. But we're just scratching the surface. We're just looking at these attributes. Um, and next week we can hopefully go a little bit deeper into this. But hopefully now you have at least a good foundation on Daniel chapter 7 and understanding that these beasts and in Daniel 7, also the image that we read about in Daniel chapter 2, and also in the book of Revelation when we're looking at this fourth beast in Revelation chapter 13, that all of these seem to be linked together. So by understanding all these different attributes of the beast in each one of these passages and seeing the details, we can start to put some of these things together to try and understand what's happening. Did someone put their hand up?
It's me again.
Okay.
I was just noticing, you read the scripture, and just to paraphrase for time, y'all started, y'all's gonna finish it.
Yes.
And so I was looking at, the toes that are clay mixed with iron, and how they don't mix. And it made me think, if y'all started and y'all's going to finish it, then these people are on the wrong side of y'all's plans, but they're still like y'all's will is still going to be done. And it made sense that, a leader is going to rise up from them because they aren't getting along. So it's almost like the order out of chaos coming to my mind, where these two aren't forming, they're not meshing. So they need someone who can bring it all together for them. So
yes.
that's all.
That's good. Yep, that's good. Next week, what we'll do, I wanted to do it today, but we're out of time. We're going to look at Rome, and we're going to look at some of the nations that came up out of Rome, and just to see if this matches the description that we just read about in Daniel. So if you join us next week, you'll be able to learn about some of that. But if that is it, if there's no other comments or questions, we can end in prayer. Abba Yah, we praise you, we honor you, we thank you for your word. Thank you, Father, for giving us understanding of your word. We ask that you continue to reveal to us, reveal to your prophets, reveal to your pastors, reveal to all of Israel what you are planning to do. Make these things that are mysteries, make them plain to us that are hungering and thirsting after you and want to know you. I ask also that you I ask that you help us remember these things, remember this information so that we can please you. Help us to keep these things in the forefront of our mind. You are returning, you're coming back, and your kingdom's going to rule forever. So the lives that we live right now should be in accordance with your word. So I ask that you teach us, you guide us, you show us how to best please you. We don't want to be one of those that's least in the kingdom. We want to be one of the ones that is greatest in the kingdom. We want to be one of the ones that You say, well done, good and faithful servant. We praise you. We give you glory. We give you honor in Yahushua's name. Hallelujah. And Leila Tov, everybody. Good night.